Instead of carrying around business cards, I carried around extra worksheets. And I'd be getting out of my
Mhm.
car and the neighbors would drive by and they're like, "Oh, you're the house cleaner in town." And I'm like, "Yeah, let me give you this worksheet. This is what we do when we come to your house. Oh, my house
Mhm.
cleaner, let me get you this. My house cleaner leaves one of these every time." I showed the customer my process. Here's what we do every single time we come. What I'm doing in that moment is I'm training the homeowner to sell me. People are busy. They're hiring you to
Yeah.
solve problems, not come in and create a whole bunch more problems for them. Just make it simple, make it easy, and make it duplicatable. And if it's duplicatable, they can turn around and duplicate it to their neighbors. And they
Mhm.
can duplicate it to their neighbors and their neighbors and their neighbors.
Mhm. Okay, so hi again, Angela. Thank you so much for being here and speaking with me. I definitely am excited to hear from you. What I wanted to, of course, start off with, I know you are an author. You have founded like a whole ordeal, like projects, right? And I just wanted to get started. Yeah, you have a lot. You have a lot going on. So I just wanted to see with the first question, how did you get started in the cleaning business for starters?
Well, I never was going to be a house cleaner. That was not ever on my agenda, but I was waiting tables. It was kind of a tough time of my life. And one of the managers at the restaurant started a cleaning business and she hired me during the day and I was working at the restaurant at night. And I worked for her for exactly one day. And on that one day, I saw things I never hoped to see in the cleaning business, which was
Mhm.
her picking up rugs and sweeping stuff under the rugs to hide it instead of removing the rugs and cleaning underneath it. And I discovered that in that one day that our work ethic was different. And so I could not work for her. And not having worked for her for very long, I didn't feel like it was a real breach of confidence or contract if I were to go start my own cleaning company. So the next day I started my own cleaning company, like, oh my goodness, there's money to be made here. But I had
Mhm.
no idea what that meant. And so then I started on a lifelong journey to understand what it meant to be a business owner and to grow a business and then to grow a cleaning empire.
Okay, cool. So you kind of, it was just like a 2-day thing. Like one day you did it, and the next thing you're like, well, I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing. So that's pretty cool. And like you said, you saw someone do it wrong, and you're like, well, I'm gonna do it right. So I like that. Okay. So you really didn't have any experience prior to, you just kind of saw something you didn't like and went and did the opposite. Is that how you did that?
No, it's not that I didn't have any experience. If I back up just a couple of steps, I'm one of 19 children. And so we grew up in a very large house and we had a lot of chores growing up. And my dad
Mm-hmm.
had inspections twice a day. And so he would walk around with a little clipboard and he would check off your jobs. And if you didn't pass off your job, then you got a gig. And a gig was like a little bad mark against your name. And if you got
Mm-hmm.
six gigs, then you would roll a dice. And there were 5 punishments. 6 was the lucky 6. You got off scot-free with no punishments at all. But I spent my entire life cleaning. It was something I knew how to do very well. And so when I went into business with someone else, I was expecting our ethics to match. And when I
Mm-hmm.
discovered that we were taking shortcuts and we were cutting corners and we were taking the customer's money, but not delivering on the product, I realized there was a discrepancy there. So it's not that I just discovered, well, I'm going to go out and do it on my own. It's that I discovered really quickly, this is not fair to the customer. If
Mm-hmm.
this is a business, if we're going to do this long term, this customer is not going to have us back if we're not actually doing what we're being paid to do. And so, because there was a discrepancy, because it was unethical for us to take their money and not deliver on what we'd promised, then that's kind of what forced me out the door. But I made $150 my first day. And as a wait
Mm-hmm.
staff, I was earning $2.15 an hour plus tips. So I
Right.
said, wait a second. I could run a business here and I could be a house cleaner. But I really didn't know what that meant as far as being a business owner goes, because I'd
Mhm.
actually never run a business before. The chores that I'd done at home were cleaning my own parents' house and,
Mhm.
having it be inspected twice a day. I didn't make any money off of that.
Right. Okay, so it just kind of contributed with, your childhood. Like you said, you were making $2 and you're like $2 or 100 something a day, which you gambled that. You're like, all right, I
Let's
like this better.
see. I think I
Yeah.
like the bigger money better.
Yeah, so it's kind of like all of these things kind of came together for you, and just like you just was like, well, might as well go ahead and do that. Okay, I like that. So can you tell me how you kind of grew your whole little empire? Because like I said, you are an author, you have courses, you train others. Like, how did all of this kind of come for you? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, well, I think starting out a business, you have to be really honest with yourself about what is
Mhm,
working and what is not working. And when I started a house cleaning business, I'd never been a business owner before. And so
mhm,
I'll be honest, I was just flying by the seat of my pants. And I was trying to pick up customers, and then I would pick up customers and I would get referrals. And I'm like, oh, sure. And I didn't have any policies and procedures in place. I didn't have any rules and regulations. I didn't know about satisfaction guarantees. I didn't
mhm,
know marketing end of it. I mean, it was just, I was kind of winging it. But what happened is we grew really, really fast. And within about 3 months, I had 4 or 5 full-time employees and a couple of part-time employees. And we were building a lot of business by referral. And I didn't know
mhm,
what we were doing, and I didn't know how to duplicate it. And I didn't know about employee management. I had people that were calling in late, calling in sick, calling, I can't come in today. And we'd already booked jobs. I was like, whoa,
mhm,
what is happening here? And so really quickly, it was a kind of a corrective action maneuver where I was kind of like, oh, I'm a detective here. What's working? What's not working? How do we
mhm.
fix that? And then I realized there were some gaps in my education. And so I went to a community college and I started taking business classes. And I grew up on a
Okay.
farm. My parents didn't
Mhm,
have any money. And so they didn't teach me about money. I didn't know about investing or money management or how much money I was supposed to dump back into the business, how much I was supposed to spend. I started spending everything I earned. And then I'm like, how do you survive? How do you make payroll if you don't save some money for payroll? How does this
Yeah,
work? So I had to take some classes to teach myself the things I didn't know.
that's good. I know a lot of business owners kind of go for it, like you said, wing it and just kind of adjust as they go. But I like that you took courses. You were like, I need to be um, informative in terms of business. Like you said, you were gaining a lot more employees, you have a lot more jobs, and you're like, okay, now this is a thing, like this is a business. So now I need to educate myself to ensure that I'm doing everything right for myself, of course, and your employees, because they're the backbone to a lot of things. So that's good. I like that approach that you took. Okay, and I know you said that you spoke on you were getting a lot of traction through referrals. So and then like you said, also marketing. So like what has been the most effective marketing aspect that you've tackled for your business?
Well, for house cleaning, what's interesting is the sooner I put my procedures in place and I put them
Mm-hmm.
in writing, it was easy to explain to a customer. When I would go to do a walkthrough with a customer, which is what we do in house cleaning, we go and we do job estimates. We walk through the
Mm-hmm.
customer's house with them and they share with us their priorities. When I would walk through with them, I would give them a worksheet. And I would say,
Mm-hmm.
when I show up at your house, I use this worksheet. And then that way, from the very beginning, from the very first introduction of myself to them, there was a standard of what they could expect from my company. And then also with that worksheet, it had my contact information at the top. Then it had a
Mm-hmm.
list of everything that we did while we were going to be at the customer's house. Then if there were
Mm-hmm.
any special requirements or priorities that they had, I would make notes on the worksheet. Then on the back page of the worksheet, there were all my rules and regulations about when you pay me, cancellations, what happens if you're sick, what happens if I
Mm-hmm.
break something at your house. And then at the bottom was a place for you to pay me. And so I don't chase money. And I told them right up front, I'm not a collection agency. I'm not going to come hound you for money. If I show up
Mm-hmm.
and there is no money, I turn and walk away. You got to pay me either online, PayPal, or you've got to, make sure that there's money waiting for me when I arrive. And so
Mm-hmm.
we set rules and regulations right up front. What, to answer your question, what happened and what turned out to be my best marketing tool ever was, instead of carrying around business cards, I carried around extra worksheets. And I'd be getting out of my
Mm-hmm.
car and the neighbors would drive by and they're like, oh, you're the house cleaner in town. And I'm like, yeah, let me give you this worksheet. This is what we do when we come to your house. And I said, you never know how we might be able to help you, but if we are able to help you, please, let us know. And what's really cool is we would leave a worksheet at the customer's house every single time we went to clean. And that became our biggest marketing tool because the customers would get sick of having them. And then they would pass them to their neighbors, either at the school bus or at the PTA meetings or at the homeowners association meetings or at the pool or wherever they were. Oh, my house
Mm-hmm.
cleaner, let me get you this. My house cleaner leaves one of these every time. Well, it was the best marketing tool ever because when I did my walkthrough, I showed the customer my process. Here's what we do every single time we come. What I'm doing in that moment is I'm training the homeowner to sell me. So they would do the exact
Mm-hmm.
same presentation with their neighbor. Oh, when she comes to your house, this is what she does every single time. This is her contact information. This is all the stuff that she does while she's here. These are all of her rules and regulations. Here's how you pay her. And they would
Mm-hmm.
walk through and do the exact thing to their neighbor that I did to them. Then the cool thing is this, I go to bid another job at someone's house and I get to their house and I go to give them a worksheet. They're like, oh, I already have the one from Mrs. Jones. I'm like, whoa. But the cool thing is that it's not me selling anything. The deal has already been closed. They've already contacted me because they already have a satisfied customer that they know, like, and trust. They already know the procedures of how we operate. They already know what we do. They already know that we're in their neighborhood. It was a done deal. And so all I did is just carry stacks of worksheets with me. And then every time I'd meet anyone in the neighborhood, let me just give you one of these because you never know. You never know.
That's actually really good.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
awesome. What's cool about it is this: 30 years later, we're still using that worksheet.
What works, works.
That's
So
right.
that's good. I like how that is a very different approach. I was not expecting worksheets, but I saw and noticed that you said that it tackled customer transparency because they were able to see what you're going to do, right? And like you said, you also had, in a sense, your kind of like your layout, like, you know, like you said, what I do and also how to pay me. So like it's a done deal. Everything is spoken for, so you don't have to kind of like go back and forth with the conversation of what you need, what is going to get done. And then also, like you said, it got that customer retention and referrals all in one. So that was really good. I like that. You tackled a lot with just, like you said, that one little worksheet.
We
So that's
keep
very
it
different.
really simple. And the reason we keep it simple is because people are busy. They're hiring you to solve problems, not come in and create a whole bunch more problems for them. They don't want a decision process where I got to go home and I'm going to spend 3 days and put together a proposal, and then I'm going to send it back to you. And then you have to get together with your spouse and decide, can you afford to hire me, and all these things. Just make it simple, make it easy, and make it duplicatable. And if it's duplicatable, they can turn around and duplicate it to their neighbors. And they can duplicate it to their neighbors and their neighbors and their neighbors.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we've always really focused on trying to keep our process simple, because if it's simple, then it's easy to, easy to do. And then you just push and repeat.
Right. That's actually good. I love that. I love that. Okay. So how did all of that transition into your journey in social media and everything like that? Like the
It
content
didn't.
you make?
It didn't. No, no.
It
It wasn't
didn't? No.
until 2016. So I ran my business for 25 years with no social media. And this is back in the day when, people did yellow page ads, for example. That was the marketing. When I started my business, people didn't have their own websites. It just wasn't a thing. And so there was a time when I had reached, 25 years into my business. Do you keep doing this forever or do you pivot? And we had a life altering experience that really changed my business. We had a troubled teenager come to live with us. And during that time, she needed 24/7 care. And so I had to make a really tough decision. Am I going to keep going at what I'm doing because I'm in my comfort zone? Or am I going to pivot and do something different? And I decided I needed to work from home. For the first time in 25 years, it was kind of mandatory that I work from home. And so I decided, well, there's this thing called social media, and I don't know what that is, and I don't know how it works, but I do believe that it's not going away. And so admitting to myself, and I think this comes back to being honest with yourself as a business owner, it's not going away. I'm going to have to learn it. And then the cool thing about learning something new is once you learn it, you cannot unlearn it. And so once you know it, then you know it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't like this at all, but we're going to learn Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and podcasts and all that stuff. And then how do I get where I'm going? And what is the quickest, fastest way to do that? Do you remember how earlier we said we want to go the easiest, quickest way? That is the simplest way to duplicate. For me, that was going to be YouTube, because anyone can go, oh, let me share the YouTube video with someone else. Right. So it's the same exact process, but just it's tweaked a little bit. Now it's going to be video and it's going to be online. And how did I get into social media? What I did is I literally sat down and I said, okay, this is YouTube. How does YouTube work? And I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how does YouTube work. And I watched a whole bunch of videos on how does Facebook work. And then I would like 2 computer screens, and I'm looking at one computer screen, like, how does this work? And I'm looking over here going, okay, click here. Do what? Okay, click here. Do what? Click here. And I mean, literally like 10-year-olds on YouTube taught me how to run social media and stuff. I'm not a pro. I'm still learning it, but you got to start somewhere.
That's good. It's very ironic and funny how YouTube taught you how to use YouTube. I like that.
Yeah.
It's really good. But like you said, there was a life-changing experience that kind of made you have to sit down and take a different route. So that's where, like you said, social media came in. So that's cool. And you've actually done great for yourself so far. What I've seen, what I've looked into, you have a great grand following. And I just see, like, of course, you gradually adding to that. So that's good. Like I said, well, like I mentioned earlier, you are an author, you have a large following on YouTube and all the other social platforms. But what is next? Like, do you have a plan for the next 5 years or anything like that?
Well, this is interesting. That's a great question. We're actually year 6 into a 10-year plan. And when I pivoted my business and I started online, okay, what am I going to do online? If I have to stay home, what am I going to do? And I had to create a business for myself, or I could go with someone else's business. And I decided to create my own business because I needed the control and be able to account only to myself. I didn't need a boss where I could or could not deliver, because having a troubled teenager in your home, I did not know what kind of time I was going to be able to have. What I did, though, and this was part of my strategy, was I figured out what my next 10 years was going to look like. And I said, how much time can I invest in each of these areas of the business? And I set up 8 pillars of the business. And I set it up this way. If there's a pillar and you only have one pillar and you try to build something on top of it, it can teeter at any time. But if you have several pillars and you build something on top of it, you then have a steady foundation. If something knocks out one of those pillars, the whole kaleidoscope doesn't go crumbling, right? You have a stability that if something falls in the business, you still have other streams of income. So I set up 8 pillars in the business, knowing that it would take 10 years to really master each one of those areas and get it built from the ground up. And I was looking at it like this. What I've been given and what I know now is cleaning. I've been in the cleaning industry for 25 years, and I've had a really successful business with huge teams of people all over North and South Carolina and in California. And so what I knew is that I know and I understand house cleaning. That's a skill that I can transfer to other people, and I can teach that to other people. Knowing that, though, this is a process. It's not going to be built overnight. You can't build an Empire State Building on a piece of property that was designed for a residential home. You got to dig a big, deep foundation, and you got to lay all the plumbing, and you got to lay all the pipes, and you got to make sure that you've got the foundation built so that when you build on top of that, it will support the structure. And so I knew it was going to take some time. Writing the book was one of the ways I bought back my time. I said, if I jump in and I answer questions for house cleaning, I'm going to get a lot of questions. I don't have time to answer each individual question if I'm building an empire. So what I did was, I created a book called How to Start Your Own House Cleaning Company, and I put it on Amazon, and I made it a free ebook. So you can buy the hardback copy, but I made it free so that when people came to me and they're like, hey, Ange, I got some questions, I'd say, listen, here's a free book. All the questions are in the book. Go read the book. When you're ready, come back. And then instead of starting at ground zero, we'll start up here, because what we have next is paid training. And so we sent everyone away. But what that did is it bought back some of my time. So I could sit here like, a mad scientist, and I could create my learning library, which is a paid library for cleaning business owners getting started in the cleaning business.
Okay. So you're basically just adding to that, and like you said, giving a step plan so that you can also get your time back. You can also create more so that you can push out more, and then also, just like you said, give it the courses, the ebooks, things of that nature, so that you can continue to construct more crafts, like more things for your craft. Okay, I like that. So a last question, just wanted to make sure I got this one because it's my favorite one. Do you have any tips for anyone looking to open a cleaning service business and also trying to be on social media with that? Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, I guess the first tip would be very clear about your reasons why. Cleaning is a really fun business in the sense that it scales as you scale. So if you have a life-altering event and you have to scale back, you can scale back by just removing a few of your customers. If you need more money and something happens and you got a kid going off to college and you need more money because you have more expenses, you can pick up more customers. And so it's a scalable business that can go up and down as you grow, or as you have elder parents and you need more attention at home, you can, let go of a few customers or what have you. Figure out your reasons why. Why are you doing this? House cleaning is a really tough business. It's not easy. It seems easy, but it's not. And you have to learn to manage your time. You have to learn to manage your money. You have to learn to manage your clients. If you hire people, you have to learn to manage people. You have to understand psychology because you're inside people's homes. There's a lot of things that people will tell you that's not actually the truth. And you have to be able
Mhm.
to kind of read between the lines and say, well, this person says they're okay. They're going through a divorce right now. I can kind of sense that because like half the people's stuff is missing, right?
Mhm.
Things are happening and you have to kind of navigate around it. You also have to be tactful and you have to know what to say and what not to say. And you have to be
Mhm.
able to manage your customers so that like they're not chitty chatty and waste all of your time while you're trying to clean. You have employee challenges. It's just not an easy business. And so if you want to do it, you have to, my suggestion would be very, very clear about what it is you want to do and why.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Like you said, I think there is a misconception that a cleaning service is very easy to kind of get into. But like you said, you have to think of the psychology of the customer, tactics of how, like you said, to make sure that you're doing everything right. Also, I know that you have tips on like what kind of chemicals to use. So, things of that nature
Chemical
too.
safety, workplace
Yeah, stuff like
safety.
that.
Yeah,
So
all
there's
that
a
stuff. Cleaning
lot.
techniques. There's a lot that you have
Yeah,
to learn.
yeah.
Yeah, to be
And also
successful.
time management. I know even me, like I like to clean, but then I'm like after a while I'm like, okay, an hour of doing one place is gonna kill me. So like, having that time management as well. And then also just understanding the business aspect of it, like you said, employees, time management, money management. So like you said, making sure that you sit down and think of all of the reasons why you want to do it and also how that's going to adjust to all the things that you need to learn. So yes, I love that. I love that. Oh, last bonus question. I like. So currently, if you had $10,000, how would you use that money to contribute to your business?
I love that question. So I ask that question all the time. And my suggestion is I would invest in another person. And the reason being is no matter what you're doing in your business, you can outsource some things to someone else. And so at all times during the day, and I do this on a 15-minute window throughout the day, I ask myself, what am I doing right now? Am I the best person for this task? And then if I had $10,000, do I need to hire one person or can I hire multiple people for small jobs? Can I outsource this one little job to someone else so that they can take that off my plate and I can do what I do best? And so every business owner has a special set of skills that they are best at. And then they have a bunch of skills that they're just not so good at. And so my suggestion is the ones that you're not good at, don't spend all your time trying to get good at them. Find out enough about that you know what the result is you're looking for, that you know how to ask for what you're looking for, and that you recognize the results when you get them. Package it together in a little package, and then hire someone to do that little package for you so that you can quickly monitor it. You can see when it comes in, go, that's what I'm looking for. And I would spend $10,000 hiring other people to do those things.
That's different. That's different. I know most people say maybe materials or marketing, but I liked how you said you would use that to invest in another person and to help also build them up and then also help you build your knowledge or your understanding of what you have going on. So that's very different. I love that. I love that. I love that. You're investing your money greatly.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. But that was it for me. Angela, thank you so much for speaking with me. It was fun talking to you. You actually have given me a lot of different perspectives. I have spoken with a lot of business owners, a lot of influencers in certain areas, and they have said similar things, but never on the scale of you or what you